Silent distress. Commander Thera Valerian stared at the life support readings with all four of her eyes. The numbers were unambiguous. In 36 hours, the air aboard the Axioni survey vessel Celestial Voyager would become toxic. In 48, she and her remaining crew would be dead. "Any response to our distress signal?" she asked, her voice steady despite the dryness in her throat membranes. Science Officer Krev tapped his long fingers against the communications console. "Nothing, Commander. We're too far from established routes. The signal is broadcasting on all collective frequencies, but..." She understood what remained unsaid. The Galactic Collective had already written them off. When the Celestial Voyager failed to check in 3 cycles ago, protocol dictated they be declared lost. No rescue would be coming. Not for a mere survey vessel with only 18 crew members. Thera's second pair of eyes closed momentarily in resignation, while her primary pair remained fixed on the viewport. The vast emptiness of space had never looked so threatening, so final. "Maintain the broadcast," she ordered, "and run another diagnostic on the propulsion system." Krev nodded, though they both knew it was futile. The attack had destroyed their main engines and auxiliary power matrix. They were drifting, powerless except for emergency systems. "Commander," said Medical Officer Jinnah, approaching with a datapad, "I've distributed the remaining nutrition packs. With careful rationing, they'll last a week." A week. Far longer than their air supply. Thera nodded grimly. "Thank you, Jinnah." As the medical officer departed, Thera allowed herself to remember the attack. They had been conducting routine scans of an uncharted asteroid field when 3 ships appeared. Not raiders, their formation was too disciplined. Military vessels with darkened identification markers. The first volley had struck before they could even raise. "This is Captain Michael Chen of the Earth vessel Persephone. We've received your distress signal. What's your situation?" "Earth." Thera searched her memory. An isolated planet, newly admitted to the Galactic Collective after developing faster-than-light travel. The species called themselves humans. "This is Commander Thera Valerian of the Axioni Confederation vessel Celestial Voyager. We were attacked 3 cycles ago. Life support is failing. We have 18 crew members aboard." The human captain nodded. "We're seeing significant damage to your vessel. Prepare for emergency evacuation. We'll dock in 20 minutes." Thera felt a rush of emotions. Relief, disbelief, suspicion. "Captain Chen, we appreciate your assistance, but I must ask, what is an Earth vessel doing in this sector? It's far from your territory." The human's expression changed slightly. "Exploratory mission. We're mapping potential trade routes." He paused. "Does it matter?" "No," Thera said quietly. "It doesn't." As the human ship approached, the crew of the Celestial Voyager gathered their few belongings and the ship's data cores. Some were skeptical. Humans were known to be unpredictable, even dangerous according to some accounts. But the alternative was certain death. "They could be working with the Marathi," Krev whispered as they stood by the airlock. "If they wanted us dead, they could simply have left us here," Thera replied. "Besides, the Marathi would never ally with humans. They consider them too volatile." The airlock cycled open. Captain Chen stood there with 2 other humans, all wearing environmental suits. Behind them, Thera could see a spacious, well-lit corridor. "Welcome aboard the Persephone," Chen said. "Your atmospheric requirements have been shared with our environmental systems. The transition area is set to your specifications, but we'll need a few hours to adjust the guest quarters." Thera stepped forward, her exoskeleton making a slight clicking sound on the metal floor. "Thank you, Captain. Your assistance is unexpected but deeply appreciated." The humans led them through a decontamination chamber and into a large cargo bay, temporarily converted to accommodate the Axioni physiology. Medical personnel, both human and what appeared to be AI assistants, began checking the crew for injuries and signs of oxygen deprivation. Your chief medical officer has provided our team with your physiological data, explained a human female who introduced herself as Dr. Paddle. We have synthesized nutrient solutions compatible with your biology. Thera watched as her crew was treated with efficiency and care. Despite their alien appearance, the humans showed no signs of fear or disgust. They worked quickly, their movements confident and practiced. Captain Chen approached her. Commander Valerian, once you're cleared by medical, I'd like to speak with you privately. There are some questions about your attack that might be relevant to our mission. Thera nodded. Of course. I have questions as well, Captain. I'm sure you do, Chen said with what she would later learn was a smile. Finding an Earth ship out here must be quite a surprise. Finding any ship was surprising, Thera admitted. We had accepted our fate. The human captain's expression grew serious. That's not the human way, Commander. We never leave anyone behind if we can help it, especially not to die alone in the emptiness of space. Hours later, after her crew had been settled in makeshift quarters, Thera joined Captain Chen in what he called the briefing room. It was a utilitarian space with a large table and several screens displaying star charts and sensor data. Your ship was deliberately targeted, Chen stated, not a question but a fact. Military-grade weapons, specific damage to communications and engines. Someone wanted you stranded and silent. Thera's outer eyelids flickered in surprise. You determined this from scans and experience. Chen displayed images of the damage pattern. This wasn't random raider violence. This was calculated to ensure a slow death without raising immediate alarms. We believe it was Marathi forces, Thera said carefully, though we have no proof. Why would the Marathi want a survey vessel destroyed? Thera hesitated, then decided to trust this human who had saved her crew when her own people had abandoned them. We discovered something. In an asteroid. Technology that shouldn't exist, not according to official collective records. Chen's eyes narrowed. What kind of technology? We're not certain. The signatures suggest power generation capabilities beyond anything currently in use. And there were anomalies. Quantum signatures that indicate possible manipulation of space-time. Someone wanted to keep that discovery quiet, Chen mused. Enough to kill for it. Yes, but why would humans care about this? Chen smiled, but it wasn't like his earlier expression. This one held no warmth. Because, Commander Valerian, Earth has been systematically excluded from collective technological exchanges. We're told we're not ready. Meanwhile, we've detected advanced tech being shared among the founding species. Thera's antennae twitched in discomfort. What he said was true. The Accioni had benefited from their scientific contributions to the collective, but they were still denied access to many technologies reserved for the founding species like the Marathi. So you're out here. What? Searching for technology the collective won't share. We're searching for the truth, Chen corrected. And it seems we found something important, or the Marathi wouldn't have tried to kill you to keep it secret. Captain, interrupted a voice over the intercom. We're detecting 3 vessels approaching at high speed. Marathi configuration. Weapons hot. Chen didn't appear surprised. Looks like they came back to finish the job. And now, they found us too. Thera felt her limbs go cold with fear. What now, Captain? Now, said Chen, rising to his feet, you get to see how humans respond when someone tries to bully us. Battle stations. As alarm klaxons sounded throughout the ship, Thera realized she might have escaped one death only to face another. But something in the human captain's confident stance gave her hope. These strange bipeds had already defied her expectations once today. Perhaps they would do so again. Defiance of protocol. Battle stations meant something different aboard the Persephone than Thera expected. On Accioni vessels, it involved solemn procedures, formal confirmations, and precise positioning. But the humans moved with controlled chaos, rapid, almost casual communication overlaid with an intensity that seemed to electrify the air. Captain Chen guided her to the bridge, which buzzed with activity. Officers called out reports without waiting to be addressed. Screens flickered with tactical displays, and someone was actually drinking a stimulant beverage while analyzing weapons trajectories. Status report, Chen demanded as he took his command seat. 3 Marathi warships, Kestrel class, approaching on intercept course, responded the tactical officer, a dark-skinned woman named Lieutenant Rodriguez. They're hailing us. On screen, Chen ordered. The view screen activated to show a Marathi officer, his scaled face set in lines of disapproval. Earth vessel, you have interfered with a collective security operation. The Accioni vessel and its crew are under quarantine by order of the Security Council. Power down and prepare to surrender the Accioni nationals. Thera felt her secondary heart begin to race. Quarantine. A transparent lie. Chen's response was immediate and unexpectedly casual. Well, that's interesting, because we received a distress call, not a quarantine notice. In fact, the Collective Emergency Response Protocol clearly states that all quarantines must be announced on standard frequencies. No such announcement was made. The Marathi officer's scales darkened slightly, a sign of anger. Your vessel is not authorized in this sector. The quarantine was imposed after the Accioni ship was found to contain potentially hazardous biological material. Funny, Chen replied. Our medical scans show no biological hazards, and our sensor logs show that your ship's fired on an unarmed survey vessel. Care to explain that, Commander? Fleet Commander Zarvos, the Marathi supplied, his voice hardening. This is your final warning. Surrender the Accioni or face the consequences. Chen smiled, a gesture Thera was beginning to recognize as a sign not of friendliness but of challenge. I don't respond well to threats, Fleet Commander. The Accioni are under my protection now. If you wish to discuss this matter, I suggest we contact Collective Central Command together. That won't be necessary, Zarvos replied. You've made your choice. The transmission ended abruptly. They're powering weapons, Rodriguez reported. Shields at maximum, Chen ordered. Evasive pattern delta. And get me Admiral Hassan. Sir, we're outnumbered 3-1, pointed out the helmsman. Then they should have brought more ships, Chen replied with that same challenging smile. Commander Valerian, you might want to hold on to something. The next few minutes were a blur of motion as the Persephone executed maneuvers Thera would have thought impossible for a vessel its size. The Marathi ships fired repeatedly, but most shots went wide as the human ship twisted and rolled in patterns that seemed random but clearly followed some hidden logic. Direct hit to aft shields, announced an officer. Shields holding at 82%, responded another. Those weren't full power shots. They're trying to disable, not destroy. They want the Accioni alive, Chen said, glancing at Thera. Interesting, Captain, called the communications officer, Admiral Hassan responding. The view screen split to show an older human female wearing what Thera recognized as Earth Alliance Command insignia. Captain Chen, I see you found trouble again. Just upholding humanitarian principles, Admiral. 3 Marathi warships are attempting to seize an Accioni survey crew we rescued. They're claiming a quarantine that wasn't properly announced. The Marathi are officially denying any presence in that sector, Hassan replied, her expression grave. The Collective Security Council claims the Accioni vessel strayed into restricted space and was lost to an asteroid collision. Chen's face hardened. That's a lie. We have sensor logs of the attack and testimony from the survivors. The Accioni discovered something the Marathi don't want known. The ship rocked as another blast struck their shields. I can see you're in an active situation, Hassan observed dryly. What do you need from command? Permission to escort the Accioni to Earth space, and diplomatic coverage for whatever fallout comes from this. The Admiral was silent for a moment. You understand the implications. The Marathi are a founding species of the Collective. Earth is barely tolerated as a provisional member. This could jeopardize our standing. With respect, Admiral, Our standing isn't worth much if we abandon people to die when it's inconvenient to save them. Hassan's expression softened slightly. Always the idealist, Chen. I prefer to think of it as being human, Mom. Another impact rocked the ship. Shields at 74%, reported an officer. You have authorization, Hassan decided. Get those people to safety, Captain. I'll handle the diplomats. Hassan out. The screen returned to the external view of space, where the Marathi vessels were maneuvering to surround them. They're trying to cut off our escape vectors, Rodriguez reported. Not all of them, Chen replied. Lieutenant Park, plot a course through the asteroid field. The helmsman turned in shock. Sir, at our current speed, navigating that density off. Can you do it or not, Lieutenant? Park hesitated only briefly. I can do it, sir. Then make it happen. Weapons, target their sensors and communications arrays. We don't need to destroy them, just blind them temporarily. Thera watched in amazement as the human crew executed these risky orders without question. The Persephone fired precise shots that damaged the Marathi ship's external sensors, then accelerated toward the asteroid field at what seemed like suicidal speed. Commander Valerian, Chen said, noticing her distress, perhaps you'd be more comfortable rejoining your crew. No, Thera replied, finding her voice. I want to see this. I need to understand. Chen nodded, respecting her decision. Lieutenant Park is the best pilot in the Earth fleet. This asteroid field is actually our advantage, not our enemy. The Persephone plunged into the field of tumbling rocks. On screen, Thera could see the massive asteroids passing terrifyingly close to the ship. Park's hands moved with incredible speed over the flight controls, making minute adjustments that kept them from certain destruction. The Marathi are pursuing, Rodriguez announced, but they're maintaining a safer distance from the asteroids. Predictable, Chen said. Their combat doctrine prioritizes ship preservation over mission success. Park, take us deeper in. Aye, Captain. As the ship twisted between ever-closer asteroids, Thera finally asked the question that had been building inside her. Why are you doing this? Risking your ship, your crew, your standing with the collective. For 18 Axioni, you never met before today. Chen didn't take his eyes off the view screen. 3 reasons, Commander. First, it's the right thing to do. Second, whatever you discovered is clearly important enough that someone's willing to kill for it, which makes it worth protecting. And third, he paused, finally turning to look at her. Humans have been in your position before. When we first achieved interstellar flight, we discovered that the galaxy wasn't the cooperative paradise the collective portrayed. We were left to handle pirate attacks and resource disputes with minimal assistance, told we weren't ready for advanced technology that could have saved lives. The collective maintained strict technological development protocols, Thera said, though she heard the hollow justification in her own words. Protocols that conveniently keep newer members dependent on the founding species, Chen countered. Earth didn't accept that. We found our own way. And we promised ourselves we'd never let others suffer as we did. A sudden impact jarred the ship violently. Direct hit to port shield, called an officer. They're getting better at predicting our course. Time to change the game, Chen decided. Tactical, prepare the Blackwell maneuver. Rodriguez looked startled. Sir, that's never been attempted outside simulation. No time like the present, Lieutenant. What followed was something Thera would later struggle to describe to her fellow Axioni. The Persephone abruptly cut its main engines, deployed some kind of specialized field that Chen called a gravity lens, and used the natural pull of a large asteroid to slingshot in an impossible trajectory. The maneuver sent them hurtling in a direction that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics as Thera understood them. When the view screen stabilized, the Marathi ships were nowhere in sight. We've lost them, Park confirmed, a note of pride in her voice. Course is clear to the Earth Alliance border. Chen nodded in satisfaction. Well done, everyone. Commander Valerian, I believe your crew would appreciate an update. Thera, still processing what she had witnessed, could only nod mutely. In the following days, as the Persephone made its way to Earth space, Thera spent time learning about her rescuers. The humans operated differently from any species she had encountered in her 87 cycles of life. Their command structure was hierarchical, yet their interactions were informal. They debated openly with superiors, joked during crisis situations, and approached problems with a creativity that bordered on recklessness. Most surprising was their attitude toward the Axioni. There was no sense of obligation or burden in their assistance. Instead, the humans seemed genuinely interested in Axioni culture, physiology, and science. Dr. Patel spent hours discussing comparative biology with the Axioni medical officer. The engineering crew consulted with Krev about the unusual readings from asteroid KX-297. Even off-duty crew members invited the Axioni to join them in what they called recreation activities. "Your species is remarkably adaptive," Thera observed to Chen during one of their now regular meetings. "Most would find our appearance challenging." Chen shrugged. "Humans have a long history of adapting to new situations and peoples. Besides, exoskeletons aren't that strange to us. We have insects and crustaceans on Earth with similar structures. Still, the differences between us are significant." "Different doesn't mean better or worse," Chen replied. "Just different. That's something Earth learned the hard way, through centuries of our own conflicts." 3 days later, they reached Earth Alliance space. As they approached Earth Station Artemis, a massive orbital platform, Thera gathered her courage to ask the question that had been troubling her. "What happens to us now, Captain? The collective may not welcome our return, given what we've discovered and our unauthorized rescue by Earth." Chen considered this. "That's up to you, Commander. Earth is offering asylum to you and your crew. We can also arrange transport to an Axioni colony world, if you prefer." "And the data we collected?" "Admiral Hassan has arranged for a scientific conference. Representatives from non-founding collective species will be invited to examine your findings independently. The Marathi won't be able to suppress this information anymore." Thera's antennae trembled slightly, an expression of strong emotion. "You're creating a serious diplomatic incident. The founding species could impose sanctions on Earth." "Probably," Chen agreed with a surprising lack of concern. "It wouldn't be the first time." "I don't understand your species," Thera admitted. "You risk so much for principles." "That's precisely what makes us human," Chen said. "We believe some principles are worth the risk." As the Persephone docked with Earth Station Artemis, Thera made her decision. She would accept the humans' offer of scientific collaboration. The data from KX-297 would be shared with other non-founding species. Together, perhaps they could begin to rebalance the power structure that had maintained inequality within the collective for too long. 6 months later, Thera stood before the newly formed Independent Scientific Coalition, addressing representatives from 27 species. The evidence from asteroid KX-297 had indeed proven revolutionary. Artifacts from an ancient civilization that had achieved technology far beyond current collective capabilities. Technology that the founding species had apparently known about but kept hidden from others. "This discovery belongs to all sentient beings," she concluded her address. "Knowledge should not be hoarded as power. It should be shared to lift all species toward a better future." The chamber erupted in approval. From her position near the back, Thera caught sight of Captain Chen and his senior officers. The human gave her a small nod of respect. The path ahead would not be easy. The Marathi and other founding species had already begun diplomatic maneuvers to discredit the findings and isolate Earth. But something fundamental had changed in the galactic balance. For the first time, the newer species were questioning the established order, forming alliances based not on age or military might, but on shared values. And it had begun with a simple human principle: you don't leave people to die alone in the silent emptiness of space. Later, at the reception following her address, Thera approached Chen. "Earth may face serious consequences for your actions, Captain. Chen smiled, raising a glass of what humans call champagne. Worth it. Why? Because change never comes without risk, Commander. And the galaxy is long overdue for change. As Thera looked around at the diverse gathering, species that would never have collaborated under the traditional collective structure, she felt something she hadn't experienced since those desperate hours aboard the dying celestial Voyager. Hope, not just for her crew or her species, but for a galaxy where being left to die in the cold silence of space would no longer be acceptable protocol. A galaxy where the human way, messy, emotional, principled, and brave, might just offer a better path forward for everyone.